So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, wherever you happen to be in the world today. Welcome, one and all, to Coffee Talk. That's right, Coffee Talk Live, where we will be talking about what is going on in the world today. What's going on in the news? What's happening? Too much of one thing and not enough of another, and a lot of hypocrisy, because that's the way the world is. Can't trust anybody, especially not the media. But we'll go ahead and we'll pick all of that apart. And of course, this is at Coffee Talk Live on YouTube for the live portion, which is 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as well as Prepper University on YouTube at the same time, and at Coffee Talk Chat on X, formerly known as Twitter. Formerly known as Twitter, where it, and I don't know again if I can see the comments from X or not, but I can see the comments from Coffee Talk and Prep University. Also, fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta Monday through Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and Friday at noon, unless otherwise specified. And of course, I do try to read as many of the comments as is plausible. For those of you who are listening and not able to see what's going on, so I'll go ahead and acknowledge some of the people that have been able to chime in thus far. I see that Helter is here today. Dragon is here. Donna Beaver, who asks people to please do give it a thumbs up and a share. Much appreciated. Brian is here. Bingo. Shashakila is here. Freezing in Texas. And if I'm not mistaken, been asked to turn your power down, correct? Have they not said that in the media out there, to take it easy on the electric grid? Because, you know, those windmills, the wind factor is too high and they have to shut the windmills off so that they won't get overwound. And then when that happens, they can freeze up. Lots of problems. It's happened to Texas before because the damn windmills don't work. Sean is here from Northern Illinois. I bet it's cold. And Shashakila says, where are you going when Google changes the rules in February? Rumble holds live streams. What rules are changing? What rules are changing? I see Merv is here. And Cyberjack Sr. is here. All people. Boogers is here. And Shashakila says they've asked us to conserve. Yeah, I thought so. Conserve that power because we can't generate enough because we're trying to go all wind. And it doesn't freaking work. None of that stuff works. They're just trying to fake it until they make it. And of course, unfortunately, when you fake it until you make it, you usually just end up faking it the rest of your life. And that goes for the government as well. They fake it until we force it on you, and then it doesn't work, and then we'll act like it's your fault. Actually, is more along the lines of how that works. As we know, I'm not aware of anything too detailed as far as Google changes. I don't know what Google's going to try to do, but and I don't know how to get a live stream to work on stupid Rumble either, and there's no audience there. If I go on Rumble, I'll probably have 3 people watching. And Shashakila says Google will be determining who can post YouTube and who is disinformation. They're doubling down on censorship again. Honestly, I'm not surprised, though. That's unfortunate. Well, we'll go ahead and we'll break into the news, and we're going to come straight to Georgia because we're going to talk about Fani Willis. And you saw this one coming, didn't you? This is from the Daily Beast. And of course, you know, Fani Willis is the district attorney. Though that's a lot of wig. Look how far up. This is one of the reasons why you're better to go natural. You see how high up that hairline is receding, because the more you put a weave in, the more hair you lose ultimately, until you end up like this. You end up like this because the hair eventually it won't grow back, and the wig goes further and further back all the time. It's a really bad practice, and it's cultural misappropriation. But anyway, Fani Willis, of course, is the DA trying to prosecute Trump for so-called election denial and election fraud, but she herself is now in a tangled web of legal problems. And it says here, Georgia DA Fannie Willis blames racism for Trump World's misconduct claims, whatever Trump World is. And it says, Fulton County District Attorney Fannie Willis responded Sunday to accusations leveled last week by one of Donald Trump's co-defendants who claimed that she was romantically involved with an outside lawyer she hired to prosecute a racketeering case against the former president. Taking the pulpit on Sunday at Big Bethel African Methodist Episcopal Church, a historic black church in Atlanta. Now, we've talked about that church before. This is the kind of thing that has no business in church. But that particular church is very political and gets away with it. Gets away with it because that's a rule, especially if you're a 501c3. You're not supposed to discuss politics, but they sure as hell do. Willis defined her hiring of special prosecutor Nathan Wade on account of his, quote, impeccable credentials. It's not nepotism. She didn't hire a boyfriend that was having an affair on his wife with, that they've gone on a cruise together with and other things, and paid him damn near $1 million out of taxpayer money as an act of nepotism. That didn't happen. It was impeccable credentials, even though he has nothing to do with racketeering law. She did not, however, address the rumors of her romantic relationship with Wade, I bet, or the implication that she financially benefited as a result, though Willis conceded that she was as flawed as they come, because all Christians love saying that, but they don't really believe it, most of them, do they? And when they say that, they mean everybody else. She went on to indicate that the accusations of improper conduct against her and Wade are based in, what is it? Racism. Yeah, that's right. This is all happening because of racism. It has nothing to do with the fact that she's having an affair with a married man and hired him and paid him with tax money an exorbitant amount of fees and got caught up. That ain't it. It's racism. Willis hired a total of 3 special prosecutors, but Wade, the only black person on the team, was the only outside counsel targeted because he's the only one that she's sleeping with. Maybe that's why. Continuing on. Quote, "Wait a minute, God," Willis said from the pulpit. "You did not tell me as a woman of color it would not matter what I did. My motive, my talent, my ability, and my character would be constantly attacked." Don't bring God into it, honey. The original accusations were first included in a motion filed on behalf of Michael Roman, a 2020 campaign official charged alongside Trump in the election subversion case brought by Willis. In the firing, Roman lawyers asked Judge Scott McAfee to have Willis booted from the case or have it dismissed entirely. Yeah, and he has a right to do that. He has a right to do that. Here she is at the church. I'm not going to play it because this is a 35-minute clip, and I don't know how much I can pick out of that realistically. But yeah, she shot herself in the foot with that. If she didn't hire that guy, nobody would be questioning it. But there is a relationship. He is married, and now she's been subpoenaed into his divorce proceedings because there's evidence of the two of them having spent time together. So there you go. It's hilarious how this all works. I see that Urban Angst is here today. Glad you could make it. And Shashakila says Google will remove without notice. Well, they already do that. They already strike you or take things down without telling you anyway on YouTube. Rodney is here from New Zealand. Glad you could make it today. And Donna Beaver says, yeah, of all places, a church. I'd hardly call that place a church anymore. It's a pulpit for politics. And that's what they do. She's up here for half an hour running her mouth. Is she giving a sermon? Is she giving a biblical teaching? I doubt it. I promise that's not what's happening at this church. Anytime any big politician comes to town, especially if they're a Democrat, they go and they talk there and they talk politics. That Martin Luther King kind of started that in that church, but I don't think it was his intention for it to become a Democratic leadership stomping ground. Continuing on here, Savage Lee says should revoke their tax exempt status. Politics don't belong in the house of the Lord. No, they do not. But they're allowed to get away with it because of who they host. I mean, if Hillary Clinton comes to town, this is where she's going to go and talk. If Bernie Sanders comes to town, this is where he's going to go and talk. If George Bush comes to town, this is where he's going to go and talk. And Obama, and on and on and on. That's what they do. And they go there and they run their mouth about why you should vote Democrat, but there's no discussion of Jehovah. None of that. None of that. She invokes God to draw attention to herself. I'll read that quote again. "Wait a minute, God," Willis said from the pulpit. "You did not tell me as a woman of color it would not matter what I did. My motive, my talent, my ability, and my character would be constantly attacked." Why? Because you're so damn special that God should warn you when something's coming? Is that what it is? Absolutely not. Helter says she's attempting to start a race riot to avoid going to prison. This is just going to be the snowball that results in the avalanche. Could be. And Merv says Big Fannie Willis was at church and she didn't confess her adulterous love affair on the taxpayer's dime, but she did play the race card and a lot of sociopath skills. And when questioned about it, she refused to answer. She refused to answer. Well, she really can't now. If she has an attorney herself, she probably would have been advised not to talk about it because of the subpoena in the upcoming divorce of her boyfriend. Helta says she's attempting to. Oh, I read that. Excuse me. Dragon says between her profiting from the prosecution to her ignoring election law violations, she's not going to last much longer, and it doesn't have anything to do with race. No, it doesn't. But they'll sure make it sound that way, won't they? And All People is here, and he says Willis is not a Christian. She is cosplaying Christianity to manipulate other fake Christians. She's a double standard, anti-white racist bully fraud. And to be fair, though, most so-called Christians are cosplaying Christian. They don't know even what it means. They don't even know what is implied. They don't know what it is to be Christ-like rather than Christian, as the saying goes. And Savage Lee says, yikes, 35 minutes, long-winded, self-absorbed people usually just want your money. And you see that she's still talking. I've just left this up here. And it's just blithering on about herself, really, reading a speech. And she talked about herself the whole time. And this is allowed. And people go to this church and making massive donations to listen to this garbage. Unbelievable. It's insulting. Donna says Channel 2 out of Atlanta has been silent for months now. It's on repeat. They must be Willis fans. Well, I mean, the media plays into a lot of this. Look how far I had to get information. This is the Daily Beast, because locally they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to talk about it. And that's how it is. I mean, we all know that most churches are fraud. Most churches are putting on a show for you. People go there to listen to the band, have a cup of coffee, and have the minister tell them that it's cool no matter what they do because they stood barefoot in a kiddie pool and had water splashed on them and said the prayer. I said the words, I'm saved for life. It doesn't matter what I do. Tell me that everything's okay. I can make the same mistakes over and over again and be forgiven, blah, blah, blah. Pass me my latte, and here, I'll put $1 in the pan, because when you go to a show, you're expected to pay. And that's the modern Christian church. It's pathetic. I can't even go to church anymore. Neither of us can, especially after we've got, and remember, my wife is a graduate from a seminary university. She's a graduate of Beulah Heights, which is one of the big ones, and learned nothing about the Bible there, which is why we started our own biblical study more than 10 years ago. So yeah, the modern Christian church it's frightening, and people learn nothing there. Now, excuse me, this is something that I came across that I thought was interesting. The next one here, I thought this was interesting, and I thought I would share it because it just seems like a little bit of fun. So we're going to have some fun with this. And this is from Ranker, the most disliked celebrities of 2023. And this is surprising. It's actually like about 100 names on here. But I'll look at the top 20, and I'll count them backwards. I'll count them backwards here real quick. And it's not a regular poll. You know, I don't like polls because polls are usually pretty fraudulent. Let me back this up some because it's scrolling funny. Polls are mostly fraudulent, but this particular polling site, golly, is this going to do right or what? This particular polling site has interviewed like they polled like 500,000 people. And for some reason, okay, we'll start at 20 if I can get. All right, let's leave it right there for a second. Maybe it's bouncing around because I keep scrolling. Their poll has like 500,000 people in it. So, but I thought this would be fun, and we'll see about how accurate this is. And another comment here, Urban says churches are in a bind. They need to be open to younger people, but the only way to attract the population requires some degree of virtue signaling. And if you are pandering to, if you're lessening yourself to bring people in, then you're compromising. And if you're compromising, then they are converting you. You're not converting them. This is the problem. And if I forget where it is in the Bible, but there is a passage where Yeshua, Jesus, warns his disciples when he sends them out among the people that if you go to a town and they don't listen to you, leave, shake the dust from your feet and go. It'll be worse for them in their time than it was for Sodom and Gomorrah. Does that sound familiar? I forget exactly where that is, but basically what he's saying is that you need to, if you go and people aren't going to listen to you, then you're wasting your time. Leave them alone. Let whatever's going to befall them, not pander to them. And there's this Christian belief where it says, oh, well, Yeshua, again, the anglicized term, Jesus, was friends to prostitutes and hung around with thieves and sinners. No, he didn't. He talked to them and met with them. Nowhere in the Bible does it say he was their friends. Nowhere did it say he hung out with them or partied with them or anything else. He would talk to them, and if he could reach them, that was one thing. But what modern churches do today is allow themselves to be twisted rather than living by example and drawing people in to a good nature. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. Legend says, glad Amy turned down the Barbie movie. And Urban says, we're watching an existential threat to religions of the book. See what's happening in Canada. Burning churches is the new freedom fight. Yeah, I've heard of that. And Savage says, I just sewed up one of my cat's toys, stuffed it with catnip. He's a happy little guy now. He's a Himalayan long hair. He was found outside in the cold as a baby. He's almost 2, still playful. That's good. That's good. I'm always happy to see somebody taking care of God's creatures, Jehovah's creatures, or Yehovah, depends on your pronunciation. So running down this list, most hated celebrities polled by about 500,000 people. Amy Schumer, I'm really not that familiar with who Amy Schumer is. It says she's a comedian and actress. So backing up here, Machine Gun Kelly is number 22. It skipped one. It's bouncing everywhere. There's 26 and 27, Khloe and Kourtney Kardashian. I can see that. And then Kendall Jenner is number 24. Everybody claims to hate these people, but they still watch their stupid shows. Travis Scott, I don't know who that is. Woody Allen is number 20. I don't know why he's even on the list. Nobody's even heard from this guy in 20 years. He's been gone for 20 years. Logan Paul, he's a YouTuber, right? I could see him being number 19. A lot of people don't like big YouTubers. Christy Teigen, number 18. I don't know who that is either. 6 and 9 is number 17. I don't know who that is. Some rapper he looks like. Zuckerberg is number 16. He ought to be in the top 10. Kylie Jenner, number 15. All the Jenners and Kardashians are on this list. All of them. Kris Jenner, number 14. Jake Paul, another big YouTuber, right? Number 13. Kim Kardashian, number 12. But again, they still watch their stupid shows. You hate them so much. What are you watching for? Hilaria Thomas. I don't know who that is. Kanye, excuse me. I always want to say Kane. Kanye West is number 10. Chris Brown is number 9. Rappers again. James Corden is number 8. Isn't he a talk show host? James Charles is number 7, and he's some YouTuber too. He's some fruity guy that does makeup tips or something. Bill Cosby is number 6. People haven't forgot about Bill Cosby yet. He does number 6. Prince Harry is number 5. Oprah Winfrey is number 4. I can believe that. Ellen DeGeneres is number 3. I can believe that. Amber Heard is 2. And number 1 is Meghan, the new Duchess of Sussex. I just thought I would share that. I thought I would share that. And Savage reminds us that sewing is a skill too. Keep them up, those skills. Yeah, most people can't sew by hand anymore. Hell, most people can't use a damn sewing machine. Legend says, really raunchy comedian leaning towards the left. Okay, thanks for the, because I don't know who a lot of those people are on that list, but I don't watch modern television or listen to modern music, though. Urban says, Amy Schumer and Goldie Hawn were both in a film called Snatched, and it's really hilarious. Too bad Amy got so political. She's actually a good actress, especially in comedic roles. Okay. And Dragon said that all of them are narcissists. Narcissism drives these people into the public eye to garner the fuel they need so badly. Yeah, I remember, especially Meghan here, Duchess of Sussex, and her husband. It's Prince Harry is her husband, right? Duke of Sussex, yes. And they had this. I saw part of a recent. What is it, South Park episode with them. I don't watch South Park either. I haven't watched it in years because it's just too raunchy for my taste, too much vulgarity. But there was a clip I saw that I thought was funny with the two of them getting off of a plane, and they're both holding signs that say, leave us alone. And they're like, oh, we want people to leave us alone. We're going to be on a TV show so that we can tell people to stop bothering us and following us around and paying attention to us and taking our picture all day. And going on. And it's like, yeah, that's kind of how it is, isn't it? Urban says, I fully support the results of that list, especially the Duchess. She divided the royal family. Yeah, she's embarrassing. She's embarrassing. And Helter says, this list does not give me any faith in humanity and its powers of reasoning and judgment. Again, Ranker, you can look it up for yourself. Most hated celebrities. There's about 100 names on this list. It jumps around too much for me to run the whole list down. But I thought that was interesting and be a nice diversion from typical news. But now we can get back into the real news. And this is, yeah, Helter, the reason it doesn't give you much faith in humanity is because those people are wealthy and popular and will continue to get attention. And Bob67 is here. Glad you could make it today. As we jump into, this is big in the news. And this is an NBC News article. Biden administration sends Texas a cease and desist letter on border access. Because you know that the Texas National Guard has been deployed to block Border Patrol because Border Patrol is not being allowed to do their job, has not been allowed to do their job for nearly 3 years now, since the Biden administration placed an order on them to not repatriate or refuse anyone crossing the border. Everybody is allowed in. They can't do their jobs. All they're doing is filling out paperwork. Governor of Texas, lawmakers of Texas are sick of it and are sectioning off parts of Texas now and deploying National Guard to restrict access to Border Patrol. So The Biden administration on Sunday told Texas to stop impeding U.S. Border Patrol access to a portion of the U.S.-Mexico border the state National Guard took over last week. In a letter to Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, obtained by NBC News, Department of Homeland Security General Counsel Jonathan Meyer said a combination of Texas National Guard soldiers, equipment, and physical barriers are unconstitutionally restricting Border Patrol access to about 2.5 miles of the U.S.-Mexico border. Does it say in the Constitution, since they claim it's unconstitutional, that we're supposed to allow everybody to walk over our border? The recent actions by the state of Texas have impeded operations of the Border Patrol, Myers wrote. Those actions conflict with the authority and duties of Border Patrol under federal law and are preempted under the Supremacy Clause of the Constitution. Meyer added, Texas's actions also improperly seek to regulate the federal government. I am writing to demand that Texas immediately cease and desist any actions taken by the state to block Border Patrol's full access to the U.S.-Mexico border in and around the Shelby Park area. Meyer noted an incident on Friday involving the fatal drowning of a woman and 2 children in the Rio Grande and Eagle Pass, Texas. Has that been confirmed? Because all I've heard is that they were told a woman and 2 children drowned and they were looking for bodies. Have a body, and I'm asking anyone out there, do you know, has a body actually been recovered, or is this a rumor? Texas's failure to provide access to the border persists even in instances of imminent danger to life and safety, Meyer wrote. Texas has demonstrated that even in the most extingent circumstances, it will not allow Border Patrol access to the border to conduct law enforcement and emergency response activities. And the letter was first reported by CNN. So has it been confirmed? It says here, federal officers on Saturday confirmed the death of a woman and 2 children who drowned in the Rio Grande. The DHS says the U.S. Border Patrol agents were prevented from entering the area from the U.S. side after Texas National Guard troops, under the direction of Texas Governor Greg Abbott, prevented them from responding. Confirmed, but do we have bodies? How is it confirmed? And the reason I got to ask is because we're lied to so much. We're lied to so much that just because federal agents say they confirmed that a woman and 2 children drowned, did they? Did they? Because I don't feel like we get the transparency that we're told we do. And we deserve to question it. And it sounds morbid, but yeah, where are these bodies? Is this true? And it's a shame that we're at this point, that a lot of people might feel that way. Bingo says, has anyone seen the new TV serial on Peacock called Ted? It's a spin-off from the movies. It's kind of funny if you can get past the political back and forth. I haven't heard of that. And Savage says, this list is all degenerates. I haven't watched regular TV in 12 or 13 years now. Yeah, I'm with you, Savage. It just can't compete with the internet as to variety, overly political, sexual, and demonic, quite frankly. I agree. And Savage goes on to say, heck, they've already welded the border gates open. Yeah. And Donna says, I love Governor Abbott. He's trying his best. And Urban says, was that the one where a squeaking protester was hustled out by the senior cowboy hat wearing townfolk? I don't know. And Bingo says the border fence has a gap every mile or so. What the hell is the point? Yeah, because they opened it up. They opened it all up. But here we are. This is what's going on here. That the federal government has issued a cease and desist because Abbott is trying to section off wide open areas in national parks, which are being destroyed, by the way. A few weeks ago, if some of you might remember, we showed where miles of border are covered with litter, trash, human feces, discarded clothing, destroyed tents and camping equipment. It's a complete disaster for miles and miles all along the border because people are pigs. People are pigs. They act like wild animals. Hell, wild animals are cleaner. So it's an environmental hazard as much as it is a hazard to the forced influx of immigrants crossing the borders. And he's trying to do something about it. Now these accusations of somebody drowned, and they're using that as an excuse to try to force him to remove the National Guard, to let the Border Patrol basically not do their jobs again. Not do their jobs again. Because that was the problem. And Moki is here. Glad you could make it, Moki. Thanks for joining us today. And Savage says the pro-Palestinian protester in Texas folks are getting a tickle out of the gem of a video. I heard that. I don't think I've seen it, though. I don't think I've seen that. But we're going to jump to New York, and we're still talking about the so-called migrant crisis. So-called migrant crisis. And here it goes. This is a Fox News article. You'll love this. We talked about this already a couple of weeks back. New York City mandates a curfew for migrants amid panhandling complaints. You might remember that article, that people in various neighborhoods around New York where these shelters are set up have been complaining about migrants or illegal immigrants, call it what it is, going door to door, knocking on doors and asking people for money. And I had talked about that because in many of these countries where some of these people are coming from, remember, most of these migrants are not coming from South America. They're coming from the Middle East. They're coming from Africa. They're coming from parts of Asia where being a professional beggar is a thing. It's a common practice. If you've been to these countries, you've seen them, hundreds and hundreds of them, panhandling. That's what they do. So here we go. Article reads, New York City is invoking a curfew for migrants after residents complained about panhandling. The curfew is from 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. A spokesperson for City Hall confirmed. Migrants staying at respite centers will have to check in, and curfews are similar to those in place at homeless shelters in the city. This policy will allow for more efficient capacity management for migrants in the city's care, a statement from City Hall spokesperson reads. What good is that going to do, 11 p.m. to 6 a.m.? Are they knocking on people's doors at 2 in the morning in the cold? I doubt it. They're doing it in the daytime anyways, so how's that stopping anything? People living near migrant housing centers have complained asylum seekers are begging door to door for food and clothes, according to New York Post. No, that is not what the other article said. The other article said they've been going door to door begging for money. And some of them asked for food, but mostly they're asking for cash. Don't try to sugarcoat it. Migrant housing residents are being told of the new rules on Monday, with Tuesday being the first night the City Hall directive is in effect. And again, they're not doing this in the middle of the damn night. Making a curfew from 11 p.m. to 6 a.m., that's what it said, 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. They sleep anyways. What the hell difference is that going to make? How's that going to help? Quote, my constituents are terrified, City Council member Joanne Ariola told Fox 5 New York. They have people that they don't know at their doorbell. They usually have a child with them. They have the telephone, their iPhone, and on it says in English, I'm a migrant from Floyd Bennett Field. Please give me money. It's very, very concerning because at times they find them on their property. Their free iPhone. You're a homeless, illegal immigrant living in a shelter on taxpayer dime. You're getting free clothes, you're getting free food, you're getting free health care, and you got a damn iPhone going door to door, holding it up, knocking on doors, showing people, give me money. Give me money. That's insulting. That is insulting. I see Stuart is here. Thanks for joining us today, Stuart. Brian says, remember when Katy Perry said we should not have any borders and let people like this in? Yeah, let Katy Perry pay for it. And Donna says she remembers that. Dragon says Adams and his constituents have created a situation where there are no consequences for illegal actions. Illegal sure as heck will not obey something as inconsequential as a curfew. And again, they're not doing it in the middle of the damn night. They're not. Are you going to answer your door at 3 a.m.? This is like Walmart. In the cities where Walmarts have been getting looted, they have a sign. I have a picture of it. Let me see if I can find it. Some of these, I took this picture. They have a sign, and I'll see if I can find it real quick, and I'll read it. I'll see if I can show it to you. Sometimes showing a picture from the phone doesn't work very well. Here it is. Here it is. And I'll put it up for you. I'll see if this works. That's the sign. Attention customers, high school students under the age of 17 are no longer allowed in the store during the hours of 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. without a parent or guardian with them. And this is supposed to cut back on theft. You think high schoolers are going to be in Walmart stealing from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m.? When do you see flash mobs rioting and looting stores? It's after dark, Walmart. It's after freaking dark. You think this is going to stop them? You know, I would be more worried about kids under 17 being in the store at like 9 p.m. rather than at 5 in the afternoon. Who comes up with this stuff? I mean, everybody must be morons. It's insane. Urban says Katy Perry said no barriers, no borders. She made the statement immediately after the Manchester terror attack. Wow. But this is New York's solution to migrants who, again, many of them are coming from cultures where this is normal and acceptable. It's a job. It's a damn job to panhandle. Big surprise. They're illegal immigrants. They're being cared for. It ain't good enough. It ain't good enough. So we're going to go door to door and beg. That's got to be so frustrating for the people that live in those neighborhoods. And frightening. Frightening, all these strangers going around knocking on doors like it's a goddamn Halloween. Trick or treat. Trick or treat, bastards. That's so aggravating. I'm annoyed for them. Helter says New York City is worried about curfew being an issue. Wouldn't be an issue at all if they'd require illegals to follow immigration law from the get-go. Yeah, absolutely. Because 90% of them should never have crossed the border in the first place. They should have been turned around, they should have been refused, or they should have been repatriated, which is what typically the United States has done for the last couple of 100 years, all the way up until the Biden administration. And Raccoon Eyes is here, and she thinks it's funny. Yeah, it is. It is funny. It's ridiculous. Trick or treat. Oh, they can't even say trick or treat. They got to hold up their brand new iPhone. I don't have an iPhone. iPhones are useless. But hold up their brand new iPhone. Probably courtesy of the federal government. Excuse me. Yes. Oh, please give me some money. No. No, 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 no. Absolutely not. This will insult your intelligence even further. And this is Maryland. We're going to jump from New York to Maryland now. And this is from Alphabet Nation. Okay? This is from Alphabet Nation. And you see this. Maryland to cover unprecedented number of gender-affirming procedures in a groundbreaking win. I bet they're celebrating this. It's child abuse. I'm sorry. A new law in Maryland requires Medicaid to cover medically necessary, quote, gender-affirming care for residents, including care well beyond hormones or surgery. Typically, insurance won't cover a lot of that stuff because it's all considered cosmetic medically. They're trying to make it something that it's not. The law went into effect on January 1st. It requires coverage for gender-affirming treatment in a non-discriminatory manner. This is what it's going to this is what it's going to include. Get ready for this. This is your taxpayer money at work. Voice therapy and lessons, scar and hair removal, hormone therapy, puberty blockers, fertility prevention, and alterations to the abdomen, genitals, chest, buttocks, neck, and face are all included. Patients cannot be denied unless a healthcare professional decides the treatment would be detrimental to their health. In the state of Maryland, nobody should have to justify their own humanity, according to the governor, Wed Moore. Is her name Wed? While signing an executive order protecting gender-affirming care at a Pride event last year, this order is focused on ensuring Maryland is a safe place for gender-affirming care, especially as other states take misguided and hateful steps to make gender-affirming care cause for legal retribution. More added in Maryland. We're going to lead on this issue. Wow. Lieutenant Governor Aruna Miller said the order shows that, quote, this administration is saying to all alphabet Marylanders, you deserve to be your authentic selves during Pride Month and every month. You deserve to live safely, openly, and freely and receive the gender-affirming care you need. Only they don't need it, and the taxpayers shouldn't be forced to pay for it. If they want to do that to themselves, if they want to butcher themselves, let them pay for it. Why the hell do the taxpayers have to foot the bill for all of this stuff, all of this cosmetic stuff? I'll read it again. Voice therapy and lessons, scar and hair removal. So you're going to pay for their waxing. Hormone therapy, puberty blockers, fertility prevention, and alterations to the abdomen, genitals, chest, buttocks, neck, and face are all included. Patients cannot be denied. Cannot be denied. And Savage Lee catching up a couple of comments here. He says, wait a second, a curfew in New York, what happened to the city that never sleeps? Well, they're being put to bed. And Urban says the push for these treatments and surgeries is a clear push to sterilize and marginalize emotionally disturbed people and autistic individuals, among others. This is monstrous to me. It's child abuse. Most people that go through these procedures regret it, and they cannot be reversed. You can do another cover-up. You can do another cover-up surgery after the fact, but you can't reverse the damage that has been done. You remove somebody's genitals or breasts, their testicles, their ovaries. You can't put them back. You remove somebody's Adam's apple, you're not putting it back. You know what I mean? This can't be fixed. And all these puberty blockers and hormone blockers and fertility blockers and everything else, long-term can do permanent damage to your physiology and your chemical makeup. So you go through all of that because you're so depressed, and that depression is never addressed. Again, when referring back to the Boston Phoenix, and when I did the interviews in the early 90s, all of them were manically depressed. It was heartbreaking to listen to them talk. Heartbreaking. They were so sad and so crushed. And this did not help them. They were worse after the surgeries. Emotionally, they were wrecks and had done things that can't be fixed. And this is being promoted now as healthy, instead of addressing what's really wrong in the first place. It's so sad. It really is. Excuse me. Urban says, I would even say that it may be the end of gay. I see gay men being pulled away by their trans peer group. They are made to believe in the non-binary idea against their own minds. And Brian made a $10 donation to the channel. Thank you very much, Brian. Very much appreciated. Dusty says thank you. Dusty is sitting in the background, or sleeping in the background there in the chair, keeping me company today. Hey, Dusty. She's ignoring me, though. That's all right. Yeah, every little bit helps. I always appreciate any donation to the channel. It goes a long way. As many of you are aware, we're currently taking care of 13 shelter cats. So very much appreciated. But it's very sad, especially with what I know from talking to these people. All of the gay men were very depressed as well. They were very sad, very crushed. And I promise you, it's not because society doesn't appreciate them. It's because something is wrong and they don't know how to fix it, but neither is it ever addressed. Something is wrong psychologically. It's never addressed. They're probably sad because of their childhood and their upbringing and because of the molestation that literally every single one of them suffered. Either molestation or some other kind of abuse. And you can't tell me that doesn't affect your outlook on sexuality. I'm sorry. And Semper Fi is here. It says, stay warm. We got a ton of snow here in Western New York. Here, yeah, it's coming. The cold weather is coming. It's cold here. I don't know what the temperature is here right now. I think it's, let me see. It's 58 here. Wow. It was cold this morning. It was frosty this morning. It jumped up. Dragon says a few Marylanders. I've spoken to about the recent gender stuff say they are proud and approving of this nonsense. Something is not adding up. And when people do that, though, when you corner people like that, often I think they feel like they're supposed to say something positive about it so that they won't be challenged. Because usually when someone approaches them, like if I approach somebody on the street, what do you think about the whole transmogrification thing? They're going to be afraid that I'm going to confront them. And so they're probably going to pander to me, whether they believe what they're saying or not. Human beings will do that. Usually that's something you see with children. Children usually, well, they used to grow out of it, most of them, but not anymore. People aren't growing up anymore psychologically. They stay children in a way. And so they're afraid you're going to get angry. Most people don't have the courage to actually speak their mind. Ask me what I think on the street. See us, watch me go off. There's very few people that have the cojones anymore, the testicular fortitude, if you will, to stand up for themselves. Urban says, how's that climate boiling coming along? Oh, I know, huh? But that's, 58 degrees. That's probably typical for this time of the year in Georgia. So it's normal enough. We've had a few cold snap days. Hasn't been too bad. My orange tree is doing okay. My lime tree bought it last year. I was pissed. It got so cold for so long, the lime tree couldn't hold on. But yeah, a lot of the U.S. is freezing right now, especially Texas. I'm worried about Texas because, again, they have all those damn windmills now, and the wind is so high, they've got to stop them. And they've been asked to conserve the electricity, the citizens in Texas, because they have to turn the wind turbines off to keep them from overwinding. And now they'll freeze up because that shit don't work. It doesn't work. Semper Fi says 58 degrees there. Nice. It's 17 here. It feels like 3. Yeah. We've had a few cold snaps, but it hasn't been too bad. But again, we're in Georgia. We are in Georgia. Now, misappropriation. It's misappropriation of government funds time. And we're going to jump from Maryland all the way to the Ukraine. All the way to the Ukraine. And this comes from Gangnam Times. Gangnam Times. This is how far I had to stretch to find this article. Ukraine's missing weapons. More than half of the U.S. supplies are unaccounted for. All those billions of dollars worth of equipment that we've sent to the U.S. That the U.S. rather has sent to the Ukraine. They don't know where it is. It's gone. It's gone. He's David Copperfield. He made it disappear. It has been confirmed that locating over half of the weapons delivered by the United States to the Ukraine has become a challenge. Observers suggest that securing additional support in the future may become more complicated given the suspension of military aid to Ukraine. Excuse me. Reports emerged that the U.S. Department of Defense Inspector General, referencing a report, could not locate $1 billion worth of weapons, which amounts to 56% of the U.S.'s $1.7 billion worth of weapons and military equipment sent to the Ukraine. The Department of Defense, I bet you they're full of excuses. The Department of Defense Inspector General report cited a failure to maintain an accurate list of serial numbers of the items delivered to Ukraine. This lapse was attributed to various factors, including a shortage of personnel, the implementation of final use monitoring procedures in war zones only beginning in December 2022, restrictions on the movement of monitoring personnel within Ukraine, and a lack of internal control over inventory. All it is really is this last one. You can make up all the excuses you want, but this is what it is. Lack of internal control over the inventory, which means it's on the black market. It's been stolen. The Department of Defense Inspector General acknowledged that efforts has been made to enhance monitoring from the onset of support. It's a little late if there's a freeze right now because they wouldn't agree on the $61 billion package. Okay. Where are we? Nonetheless, personnel limitations and responsibility issues hindered tracking the equipment thoroughly. The unmonitored equipment primarily comprises small items such as portable missiles and drones. The Department of Defense Inspector General emphasized the necessity of final use monitoring for the weapons provided to Ukraine, especially for equipment employing sensitive technology or having small dimensions that make them vulnerable to, here it is, arms smuggling. You see how far you have to dig to get the truth? Do you see? Unbelievable. And Moki says Gonzalo Lira. Gonzalo Lira. What's Gonzalo Lira? Is that what this is? And then where are we? Urban says, has anyone actually interviewed David Copperfield about the missing inventory? Well, usually he gives whatever he makes disappear back. That's the thing. David Copperfield, when I worked at J. Builder and Sons in Brookline, Massachusetts, used to come in there to shop. And I always knew when he was there. And man, that guy had like a big phony tan. He looked like somebody painted him with gold paint. He was shiny. He was so tan. But excuse me. I always knew when he was in the store because the day manager, Danny, would bump the cashier. So whenever the cashier, whoever was the cashier that Copperfield was headed for with his shopping cart full of God knows what, it was, a grocery. It was a grocer's. He would throw the cashier out, tell him to go take a break or something, and so he could ring out David Copperfield. Oh my God. Oh, it's David Copperfield. It was pathetic. It's like, dude, it's David Copperfield. Let the man shop. Leave him alone. Okay? Seriously. Helter says the U.S. government has the means to track and find anyone in the world. True. Yet it can't track the flow of money. Question mark. Absolutely. The money went to a shady part of the world where it's not supposed to be. Very well put. I agree. I do agree. It's unaccounted for. They're not keeping proper track of it. I don't know how much you can trust this guy. I don't know what's going on in the Ukraine. All we have is the narrative that we're being spoon-fed. I don't think any of us really know what the hell the point is or what's going on. Excuse me. And Urban emphasizes here, Gonzalo Lira was a Chilean-American journalist who recently died in a Ukrainian prison. Okay, thank you. But he was not a healthy guy with multiple morbidities, so it may have been a natural death. All right, thanks for the clarification. And Dragon says perhaps the money went to a special ops or some classified stuff that we don't want audited. Oh, you mean like blowing up a pipeline, perhaps? Just asking. Just throwing that out there. just throwing it out there for the sake of argument. The lead singer from the Cars used to come into that store too. And people used to follow him around when he came in. So I can't remember his name, But you remember the Cars, really popular band in the 80s. But he would show up from time to time as well. Excuse me. One more here. This is from the Messenger. Calls, because these black colleges and universities are in a lot of trouble recently. Raccoon Eye says Rick Osasic. Thank you. Calls for president of historically black colleges to step down after administrator suicide. You might have heard this last week. And there she is, Antoinette Bonnie Candra Bailey at Lincoln University, Missouri. Says Dr. Bonnie Bailey, vice president of student affairs at Lincoln University, recently took her own life. Her family and alumni allege the president's bullying played a role. I'm torn on stuff like this because my personal opinion, it is a very weak and selfish thing to take your own life. You're at this level. You're a doctor. You're a doctor. You're the vice president of a university. And because somebody's picking on you, you're going to kill yourself and burden your family with that. Yeah, and that's my opinion. I think it's very weak and very selfish. Lincoln University alumni are calling for the immediate dismissal of the Jefferson City, Missouri school's president, alleging it was his harassment and torment that drove the vice president of student affairs to suicide. And you're the vice president of student affairs. You're supposed to be giving other people advice and you kill yourself. The historically black university is in mourning after the recent passing of Dr. Antoinette Bonnie Bailey. Her relatives told HBCU Buzz that Bailey ended her own life on January 8th. The school's National Alumni Association penned a letter to Lincoln University's Board of Curators endorsing the removal of Dr. John Mosley as president, insisting the president's administration has become a liability to the mission and health of the university. The letter demands a change in the president's office, noting Dr. Mosley had to be held accountable for his alleged role in Dr. Bailey's suicide so that the university's community could begin the healing process. Current students are also calling for his firing via social media using the hashtag #FireMosley. The president has agreed to take a paid leave from office. So he don't want to hear that shit, so he took a vacation, basically. Relatives have said it was Dr. Mosley's bullying and severe mistreatment that drove Dr. Bailey to kill herself. Fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. On Facebook, the school described Dr. Bailey as a gifted colleague who was always a passionate advocate for Lincoln University and other causes in which she believed. And it goes on to say that Dr. Mosley is the 21st president, that he's been there for 2 years, and he served as the head basketball coach and became the university's director of athletics in 2015. How do you go from basketball coach to president of a university? And Brian says now she's the wood of the self-murderers. But yeah, I just don't believe in that. I think it's very selfish, very cowardly. You're going to let somebody push you so far and not fight back. That's a cultural problem where people feel so weak. Somebody, again, a doctor, a vice president in a college. For all eternity, Brian goes on to say. And Urban says, it reminds me of the suicide of a school principal in Ontario after being viciously bullied and hounded by the school's contracted DEI, quote, specialist. I remember that. But you can't push back. You can't open your mouth. Where's the boldness? Where's the strength? Where's the integrity? Where is it? You're going to let somebody push you that far? You know what? Either push back or leave. You can get another job. All money ain't good money. You can walk away. You know what? Kiss my ass. Keep your damn job. You're going to treat me like this all day? Find somebody else to push around, jackass, and take off or fight the guy. But to take your own life, I just don't have any respect for it. I'm sorry. I know somebody's going to get upset, but that's the way it is. Anyways, we are at the top of the hour, so I'll go ahead and wrap things up. Again, this is Coffee Talk. You are listening to and or watching Coffee Talk, and you can find me on YouTube at Coffee Talk Live or at Prepper University, and on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Coffee Talk Live. Is it live or chat? Now I'm mixing them up. And Fistful of Radio, fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta Monday through Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and Friday at noon. Special thanks again to Brian for making a donation to the channel today. Very much appreciated, as always. One more look at Dusty, everybody, sleeping in the chair. And I will again thank everybody who was able to join us here today. Hope you got something out of the conversation. And we will catch you again tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow.